Hey everyone, it's Darren. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about uh, Excel dates and when the date functions fail you. Uh, there's two situations really where they're going to fail. The first one is the one you're probably going to run into more commonly, and that is where you actually want to have an elapsed date in terms of months or years. So I want to know, what is the date 2 months from today? What is the date 3 years ago today? And that's something that us as humans can do really easily. We just change that one number. But for the computer, it's a little more difficult, especially when you consider that it has to deal with leap years. So let's start by talking about how Excel actually stores dates. So it stores dates and times it stores together in the same variable, and it stores them as a number. So the whole number part is the date, the fractional part is the time. The whole number part time began, as far as Excel knows, on January 1st of 1900. There was nothing before January 1st, 1900. January 1st, 1900 was zero. January 2nd, 1900 was one. January 3rd was two. And it just goes on like that. Uh, and that brings us to the reason that we have problems with the second group of dates in Excel, which is that since nothing happened before January 1st, 1900, if you have to represent dates older than that, you kind of have to take matters into your own hands and handle them manually. So let's start off with the easy thing here. If we start with some data here, so uh, I want to add a couple of weeks to a date here. So I'm going to add A1 plus 2 weeks is 14 days. And that takes me to 328. And remember, I said Excel stores dates as the number of days elapsed since January 1st, 1900. So adding a 1 adds 1 day, adding 7 adds 7 days, adding 30 adds 30 days. And it also handles moving across months like that. It'll handle moving across years. You can add anything you want. You can add, you can subtract any number of days you want. Uh, and that works down here too, really. I can come down here to January 1st, 1900, and it's January 15th, 1900. I can look at December 31st, 1899, and it gives me an error because I just tried to add 15 to a string and it doesn't work. Okay, well, let's focus on the more obvious ones up here first. We'll come up here first. What happens if I want to manually add a month? So I want to add a month, and you'd think, well, add 30 days. Well, some months are 30 days, some are 31, some are 28, some are 29. I don't know what's what. I just want to add 3 months to this. I want to add 3 months to these dates. So the first thing you have to do is you have to break down the date into the day, the month, and the year. Then add your number and maybe shuffle things around a little bit, and then put it back. So if we look at these numbers, so if I do from A1 equals year A1, it's 2024, equals month A1 is 3, equals day A1 is 14. And that works no matter what your format is. In some parts of the country, this is in US format here. I have month, date, year. If you're using date, month, year, if you're using year, month, date, it doesn't matter. This function works regardless. It's storing it exactly the same way, it's just formatting it differently on your computer. So now if I want to add 3 months, obviously, I would just take D1 plus 3 as 3 months. And then I just reassemble stuff. Okay, let's add some column headings here because this is going to get confusing here pretty quickly, isn't it? So we're going to just insert a column here. So this is year, this is month, this is day, this is new month. Okay, and this is new date. Okay, so now I just use the date function to reassemble this. All right, date. And then I give it year, which is C2, and month. Remember, new month here is F2, and the day is E2, and it reassembles it as 6/14/2024, which is exactly what we wanted. So can we copy this down to these other dates? So we copy it down here, and you see it works. And you would expect it to work for here, you'd expect it to work for here, but you'll notice that here it also works. And if you look at the values that I'm actually putting into this formula, I'm saying date C3, which is 2025. It's good. Month F3 is month 15, though, but it knows to just roll that over. So it handles that. It'll subtract years if you have a negative number there. Okay, so that's the easy part. Now, over here, when we look at the years, you kind of have to manually break stuff apart. Um, if you're just storing the dates, I kind of cheat a little bit here with this column width. Expand this out. You see, this one is right justified, which is the default for a date format. This one's left justified, which is the default for a text format. And the reason is if you type a date, if you type something in that looks like a date, but it's not 1900 or later, it's going to make it a text value, which is why it fails you. So if you're dealing with text values, you have to deal with text parsing if you care. And that's an important part, is that if you care part. So let's look at when you don't care. If you're trying to record dates, you're trying to look at genealogy and you want date born and date died for people going back, 1,000 years. Um, you're not doing calculations on those for the most part. So you just let them be text values. Who cares? Where you care is if you actually have to do calculations. Okay, so what happens if you are working with dates and you actually have to do some calculations with them? Uh, that becomes more problematic if you're before 1900. And the reason that Microsoft picked 1900 is that most of the people using Excel, much of the world really at this point, we're all using the Gregorian calendar. We may have another calendar as well, but pretty much everyone's agreed, okay, the Gregorian calendar is where we're going to work at this point. Um, that's a new thing. Uh, by 1900, much of the world was using the Gregorian calendar, at least as one of the valid calendars. Uh, Prior to that, it gets fuzzy, and I had to look up some dates. So the Julian calendar was replaced by the Gregorian calendar in Spain and Spanish colonies, and that's the first use of the Gregorian calendar in 1582. Prior to that, they were on the Julian calendar. Um, in the US, uh, so the Gregorian calendar was applied to British colonies and the United States east of the Appalachian Mountains specifically in 1752 from the Julian calendar. Alaska actually stayed on the Julian calendar along with Russia until 1867. Uh, and the US bought Alaska in 1867, which is when Alaska switched over to the Gregorian calendar. And your dates are different as you go back, as you switch calendars. Um, a lot of other cultures had different calendars. It wasn't, everyone wasn't on Julian before 1900 either. We're all familiar with, Chinese New Year's on this date and whatever. And, everyone had their own calendars. And that was fine. They all worked. There generally wasn't a need to compare them. And if you have a need to compare them, you're going to have to translate. And that can get messy. Um, but the solution to doing it if you have to actually do it, is that what you will do is you will break down the dates yourself. So you'll use text parsing. You'll actually separate out the month, date, and year, and you will then do calculations on those and convert them back into month, date, and year, still in a text format. So let me just show you really quick how you would do that, just very briefly here. Let's look at this December 31st, 1899. So I want to break this down. So I'm going to use the left value of A2, A8, excuse me, and number of characters. Well, in this case, I can see it's 2, and we'll come back to that in a second, is 12. Here I have I want the date is going to be equals mid of A8, and start number is fourth character. It's 1, 2/3 was the fourth character. And I want 2 characters, because mid you have to give the number of characters. And the year in this case is going to be right of A8 and 4 characters. And I have the month, date, and year. Now I can do calculations on these, and then I can concatenate back together. So if I want to subtract 3 months off of this, for example, if I do equals C8 minus 6 months, that gives me a 6. And then I can concatenate this back together. And the easy way to concatenate is just to do equals, let's see, this is going to be C10, comma, C10 and quote slash quote. And then the date is D8. So I need another ampersand in there. Ampersand D8 for the month. And it's going to give me an error because that's actually C9 I need there. So it's C9 slash D8 ampersand quote slash quote ampersand. And the ampersands just let you glue pieces of text together. And then the year is E8. And there's my date glued back together again. Uh, Now, as you probably guessed, if I had added 6 months instead, then I'd have to perform calculations and do integer division and remainders to work through the date and time. If you're doing this, I'm going to refer you to 2 videos down in the description. I have text parsing, uh, which are the left, right, and mid functions. The reason I'm referring you there is because if you look at the functions I just used, if you do a left 2 on that C10, it's going to give you 6 slash. And then if you do mid, it's going to give you have 6/31. For your date, it's going to give you /189 or /1 as your uh, date, and then it's going to give you 1899 as the year, and it's not going to give you what you need. So check out the text parsing video. I tell you how to look for the slash and how to parse the dates out properly. Also, if you're adding and removing things, check out the integer division video, also linked down in the description. And that tells you how to, you'll do the modulo function, which lets you keep track of the number of days and everything in it. It does take some work. Once you've written the functions once, of course, you can just, copy them over. And what function you need depends on what you're actually calculating. If you change calendars at some point in there, that becomes even uglier. If you're a historian, you're probably used to working with that, though. Uh, anyway, if you have questions, please leave them down in the comment section. If you learned anything from the video, hopefully you learned something. Do hit the like button and also hit subscribe and notify so you can see when I release new videos. I have a Patreon page. If you could help out the channel that way, that would be great. It helps out with all the producing the videos and all the time I put into producing and editing these videos. Uh, the address is patreon.com/data analysis excellence. There's also a link for that down in the description. And hope to see you again soon.